We are not seeking for free money. We want a fair and equal financing opportunities.
Excellency Dr. Nedumbu Nandindaitwa, the President of the Republic of Namibia.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. Namibia thank and congratulate Your Excellency President Ramaphosa, the government and the people of South Africa for bringing G20 to Africa, placing Africa's concern in the agenda of the summit, and for the kind invitation extended to my country. Guided by the African Union Agenda 2063 and the UN Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development, the importance of addressing development priority from the African perspective cannot be overemphasized. Developing countries find themselves on debt trap as a result of capital high cost for developing countries, based on the perceived risk that does not reflect the reality on the ground. In the face of unfair financing terms, recently Namibia honored its international obligation by redeeming its $750 million Euro bond on time, signifying strong fiscal responsibilities. However, we are considered by decision makers as a risk country. We need a fair international financial institutions. Being the most meaningful way, we can place people at the heart of sustainable development. Our focus on advancing the transformation of global governance must be underpinned by the common understanding that only an inclusive and representative international system will have the capacity to respond to the present-day challenges. If our financial architecture is not fit for the purpose, we will continue to see the pressure of a looming global debt crisis that intensified imbalance between developed and developing countries. We are not seeking for free money. We want a fair and equal financing opportunities. For Namibia to grow and industrialize our economy, Namibia is welcoming investors to invest on value addition at source for our natural resources, including critical minerals, to yield a broad-based benefit for all our people. To leave no one behind, countries must mobilize adequate resources for development, apply responsible debt management, and safeguard resources for essential social and economic programs such as education, health, and infrastructures. Namibia urges the G20 leaders to strengthen debt treatment framework by providing concessional financing to countries that demonstrate commitment to sound debt management and to be innovative in strengthening others. As we strive towards reducing inequality within and among countries, fair taxation, financial inclusion, and social protection are essential tools. In Namibia, social protection coverage has expanded, with old age grants reaching 98% of eligible citizens, and children grants stand at 66% of vulnerable children. These measures ensure that vulnerable groups that include people living with disability are supported in the path to prosperity. It also allows women and youth to play their role in development. As I conclude, I can say let us reaffirm our shared commitment to inclusive and sustainable economic growth guided by the SDGs by focusing on 3 pillars. 1, strengthen trade-drive economies. 2, securing financial for development, while responsible managing debts and reducing inequality through inclusive policies. And all these are talking to the theme of this conference, which we really very much welcome, namely solidarity, equality, and sustainability. Thank you for your kind attention.
To ask His Excellency, Dr. Julius Maada Bio, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone and the Chairperson of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to take the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Your Excellencies, distinguished leaders, ladies and gentlemen, I want to start by congratulating our host for being a great host, especially for the warmth and hospitality that he has extended to us. I now bring you warm greetings from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. The region is currently celebrating its golden anniversary in recognition of various achievements, but also reflecting on the future of the community. We gather here to make important decisions on trade, finance for development, and the existential debt burden. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, trade is not just about goods crossing borders, but about creating opportunities in Africa for over 1.4 billion people and providing opportunities to create employment and wealth. In Africa, we are committed to boosting intra-African trade through effective implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, a system that empowers small businesses, connects landlocked communities, and unlocks regional value chains. However, we cannot do it alone. We call on G20 to 1, reform global trade rules to ensure fair access for African exports. 2, invest in trade facilitation, digital corridors, and green logistics. 3, support the full implementation of FTAs, such as the AfCFTA, especially for the effective participation of women and youth entrepreneurs. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, development finance must move from charity to strategy. Africa does not lack ambition, but affordable capital. The cost of borrowing for many of our countries is up to 8 times higher for advanced countries. We urge G20 to 1, scale up concessional finance and blended instruments for climate resilience, digital infrastructure, and urban transformation. 2, empower national and subnational institutions with direct access to global capital markets. 3, champion innovative tools like diaspora bonds, carbon credit, and SDG-linked instruments that reflect Africa's realities. Scale up climate finance commitments. Africa contributes, as we all know, less than 4% to global emissions, yet bears the highest climate cost. G20 must support the realization of the 100 billion climate finance pledge and accelerate access to loss and damage fund. To advance global peace and security, the G20 must lead the effort to redress the issues of increasing global poverty, economic inequality, and justice, which feeds global security challenges. G20 must work to evolve a more peaceful world in which prosperity and advancement for all is a global goal. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, today over 20 African countries face high risk of debt distress, not necessarily due to reckless borrowing, but because we borrow in a structurally unjust system. The cost of borrowing and servicing for many African countries is prohibitively high, thereby diverting funds from crucial sectors such as health, education, and infrastructure, as has been alluded to by many already. The G20's common framework must evolve. We need, one, timely, transparent, and equitable debt restructuring across all creditor classes, intercreditor burden sharing and binding timelines, access to concessional finance and capital on fairer terms, a new debt climate development compact that links relief to resilience, addressing issues like illicit financial flows, profit shifting, and marginalization in global value chains is crucial for long-term solutions. We offer the following recommendations. We propose the establishment of a task force on trade and finance for structural transformation. 2, we call on multilateral development banks to create dedicated credit lines for regional and urban development. We urge the summit to adopt a multi-pronged approach on fiscal space, financial innovation, and institutional capacity as the foundation of a new global economic architecture. And finally, we call for a recommitment to the multilateral trading system that we are used to. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. President, heads of state and government, excellencies, let me at the outset express appreciation to His Excellency President Matameta Cyril Ramaphosa for the warm reception in this beautiful city of Johannesburg. May I further use this opportunity to congratulate him on the successes of the South Africa G20 presidency, including his purposeful leadership in steering the affairs of the group in a number of processes and negotiations which will culminate in a leader's declaration. Nigeria, as one of the invited guest countries of this year's G20 Summit, commends the concerted efforts of the group in mobilizing action towards accelerated attainment of inclusive sustainable growth, where financing for development is guaranteed and no one or country is left behind. The theme of the Session 1 of the Leaders Summit, Inclusive and Sustainable Economic Growth, leaving no one behind, building our economies, the role of trade, financing for development, and the debt burden is apt and speaks to the challenges of developing countries. The current multilateral frameworks do not adequately reflect the realities of today's world. Many developing nations continue to face systematic barriers to economic growth, trade, and financial inclusivity. For trade to be truly inclusive, the G20 must take bold steps towards reforming the international financial architecture and global institutions. Only a more equitable and effective system can fairly manage global financial flows, address recurring debt crises, and respond to the needs of all nations, especially those in the global south. Africa cannot realize the positive paradigm shift we seek in its development trajectory without a collective resolve of the G20. Together, we must confront the persistent regional challenges before us, most notably the urgent need for sustainable financing to ensure effective implementation of our developmental priorities. Across many regions, rising debt burdens continue to constrain economic progress and transform local challenges into global vulnerabilities. Ensuring debt sustainability while responsibly leveraging critical minerals for inclusive and enduring development must remain central priorities for the G20. The G20 must, in the adoption of the Leaders' Declaration, take very seriously the need to advance policies that drive sustainable growth, promote financial inclusion, and tackle emerging risk. This includes support for indigenous production, export from Africa, and mechanism to enhance significant increase in FDI flows to the African region. Nigeria has in recent times demonstrated its readiness for both foreign direct and portfolio investments. This progress is driven in part by the fiscal policies introduced by the present administration, all aimed at enhancing the ease of doing business in Nigeria. We are committed to establishing 1,000 active businesses in each ward in Nigeria, with a clear objective of stimulating our local economy through grassroots empowerment, skills acquisition, and job creation. We commend the efforts of the World Trade Organization and its leadership for providing technical assistance to boost fair trade, including through the Women Exporters in the Digital Economy Fund launched in 2024. This initiative has provided grants and technical support to women entrepreneurs and strengthened their digital capabilities and access to global markets. Mr. President, as I conclude, I reaffirm Nigeria's unalloyed commitment to the G20. Let us continue to work side by side, shaping an economic future that uplifts every nation and leaves no one or country behind. I thank you.
Thank you, Africa. Mama Africa, oh, yeah. You make Africa great. Thank you, Africa. Thank you, Africa.